Just a few days ago, Jonas Vingegaard's wife, Trina Hansen, criticised Team Visma Lease A Bike. Something you never see at this level. And since then, and after Stage 5's flat 33-kilometre time trial, Jonas has looked off, the team seem confused, and there seems to be some tension. So is this just the normal Tour de France pressure? Or has the Jonas wife drama had an impact already? Well, like the last video, we're going to break this one down, watch some interviews that have come out from the team and Jonas, look at the facts, and do what we do best, which is needlessly speculate. So let's dive into this one. And I'm sure most of you are already aware of this and have probably already seen some of these comments. So I'm not going to go into them in too much depth, but I will just give a quick recap of some of the comments that Jonas's wife Trina made in an interview. It actually turns out, since we first saw the interview, were recorded a few weeks ago. However, they were released on Stage 2 of this year's Tour de France. And some of the more eyebrow-raising quotes that she said included that Visma were squeezing the lemon too much now, that she's afraid that Jonas is burning the candle at both ends, and that Visma is pushing him too far now, saying that he feels like he's missing out on life at home, and noticeably criticising the team itself, saying that they should focus on winning the Tour de France and nothing else, rather than putting resources into other areas. So that was quite understandably caused quite a lot of drama, conversation and discussion in Denmark and around the world, and has resulted in Jonas and the team being asked questions about it in post-race stage interviews. And whilst we can see from this clip with Grisha Neerman after Stage 2 that both him and Jonas are downplaying any controversy, it's clear to see that he's a little bit frustrated with even being asked some of these questions when they're trying to focus on winning the Tour de France. You can also see that he's quite clearly annoyed by being asked some of these questions. And it's obvious the team would rather be focusing on trying to win the Tour de France rather than this drama. And then just days later, Jonas had a very bad day, and whilst he was expected to lose time to World Time Trial champion Remco Evenepoel, he wasn't expected to lose over a minute to main rival for the yellow jersey Tadej Pogačar. And some people even thought that Jonas was the favourite to take time on Tadej there. And with both Jonas and the team denying there are any issues with the tactics or equipment, we're going to have a look at this one a little bit further and see if that drama could have had an effect and already impacted Jonas's bid for a third yellow jersey. So first, let's see what Jonas himself has to say about his performance in Stage 5's time trial.
No, I just didn't have the legs today. I lose a bit of time, and yeah, my legs were not feeling so good. So the result is also after how to say it? Yeah, matching my legs.
How much of a battle was?
So that's interesting. So you're saying there that there's nothing wrong, right, with the tactics or with the equipment. It's just he didn't have good legs. So it's quite rare for him to sort of, underperform at that level in time trial. So it certainly looks like something's not quite right. And it's usually not the legs, but he's saying it is the legs this time. Well, okay, was it the preparation? Was it something else? Was it the drama? Okay, so what else does he say?
Was it finding out that you weren't good today?
Yeah, I mean, I was fighting my bike and my legs today, so as I said, I didn't have the best legs. Luckily, the tour is long, and I still believe in myself, in our plan, and still believe that we can win.
I don't know, he sounded kind of resigned, didn't he? He said, oh, we still believe we can win, but he sounds disappointed to me. He sounds like he wasn't expecting that sort of a time loss, and he's disappointed to have it. So, as you would expect, right?
Because in the Dauphiné you were faster than Pogačar?
Well, I mean, I was a bit surprised about my legs, yes, but yeah, sometimes that's racing.
I like it, and as he says, he was faster than Pogačar was in the Dauphiné TT, right? There was a small climb in that, but it wasn't like you call a hilly TT. It was fairly flat. So again, you wouldn't have expected him to lose a minute today. But this is the best bit.
What point did you realise it wasn't going well?
From the start.
So there you have it. He's not happy. He's not happy about it at all. As he's quite to the point. I think he's really disappointed by that. And in his own words, it was the legs, right? So why was it the legs? Well, let's see what team boss Grisha Neerman has to say about it also. And this is an interesting one because I don't think I've ever heard Grisha talk kind of like this about Jonas. He basically was blaming Jonas here, in my opinion.
Grisha, Matteo was a little bit sort of confused as to why the results aren't better today. Do you have an explanation?
No, I don't have an explanation.
He's not happy.
Even before the time trial?
Yeah, before the time trial, everything was good, so there were no problems in the time trial. And yeah, he just lost time over the whole TT. So
he's not happy, is he? He's essentially saying there was no problem with the prep, there was no problem with anything else. It's just a case of Jonas was losing time. And look, even if that's true, The interesting thing here is I've never heard him talk like that before. He would usually do anything but to blame Jonas. Oh, we need to go away and look at it. We need to see if our pacing strategy was right. We need to see if the equipment was good. It would be something like that. He wouldn't outright say, well, it was just Jonas wasn't good enough today. We didn't really want to lose the time. But so what else has he got to say?
Of course, we hope for more.
The fact that Edo Affini did such a good time trial suggests there was no sort of team-wide strategy that you got wrong today.
No, I think in a TT like this, you can't really get a strategy right or wrong. It's pushing from start to finish and doing the technical passage as well. And I think that was not the problem, but I guess that Jonas didn't have enough power today.
Wow, Jonas didn't have enough power today. That's the explanation from the team boss. And like I say, usually he would never say anything like that. He'd be very, very defensive. He's always very protective of Jonas, very reluctant to blame him for anything. I think just the very fact that he's saying that to me says there's tension in the team, right? Because I've never heard them speak like this. They're usually very united, especially publicly. But he seems annoyed, doesn't he? Like, he seems angry. Like, this interview, the interview after stage 2, he never usually seems this annoyed to be taking these questions. And when it's, I guess, you know, they've based their whole year around this Tour de France. Has this caused some disruption a day or two before, like, one of the biggest stages of the Tour for them? I feel like there's definitely some tension here. Whether they want to admit it or not, he's not happy, and he's blaming Jonas rather than anything else. So let's see what else he says.
Yeah, 121 lost to Remco Evenepoel there, but 106 to Tadej Pogačar. Was that far bigger loss than you were expecting, given the good time trials that Jonas has done recently?
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't expect a loss that much, but it happened, and we have to go from here. And
so there you go. They weren't expecting that big of a gap. They're shocked. They are not happy. He's really not pleased, right? That's probably thrown a bit of a spanner in the works in terms of their strategy for the Tour. Looking into his eyes, he looks like he might cry, and I don't really blame him at this point. And if you think about it, if there's tension on the team bus, if Wout van Aert's not happy with what Trina said, if Grisha's not happy and they're sort of blaming Jonas for this being aired publicly this close to the Tour, maybe Jonas isn't taking it very well. He seems like the kind of guy that doesn't really like confrontation. And this has kind of been publicly thrust on him. So what happens if he's not sleeping well, right? What happens if he's he's up all night worrying about this, worrying about the lack of cohesion in the team, worrying about what Trina's saying. What if Trina's on the phone to him complaining, I'm being slandered in the media, why aren't you defending me more? Why aren't you making the team phone up and apologise to me? You know, Jonas is already under huge pressure to try and win this Tour, fight with today to get the win. Does this outside pressure really help, or does it make it worse? And sure, this is all speculation, but when you have a look at Jonas's interview after stage 6, we might be onto something, because he said something really interesting, actually. So let's have a quick look at this one.
Positive efforts, I think, probably agree. Do you think that might have taken some of the edge off your performance yesterday, and other riders might be suffering for that reason? Accelerations.
I don't think that's the reason, for sure. To be sure, because I think then I would also have been suffering more today.
So that was interesting, because quite a few people have said the TT performance was probably because he's been doing lots of work, doing lots of attacks in the first few stages, and I kind of agree with that. Except if you think about it, was exactly the same at last year's Tour. When Pog launched it on San Luca and in the first couple of stages, Wim was always with him, he went with him. Pog wasn't able to drop him or gap him at all. If it was just a total off day, he doesn't usually get those, right? Even when he has a bad day on the Tour and Pog drops him, he never cracks. This next bit that he says as well is quite interesting.
The Tour route, I thought it would be an easy first week, but to be honest, it hasn't been an easy first week, which hopefully it will build up more and more, and I think this Tour de France will end up being a very hard one.
I thought it was going to be an easy first week. Your team's been the team on the front, drilling it most stages, making it hard. So if that was the case, are you not aware of the team tactics? Do you not have a say in the team tactics? You and Visma have repeatedly hinted that there's a plan in place to try and hurt Pog. And we've all put 2 and 2 together to say, that plan is probably to try and accumulate fatigue on Pog for week 3, right? That's how they beat him before. But Vin just said he wasn't expecting this first week to be that hard. So it just feels like there's something not quite right in the whole team dynamics at the minute. That being said, looking at the third week that we've got ahead in the Tour de France, when we hit the high mountains, 1 minute 13 isn't really that big of a gap. So could this fuel a comeback story for the Hillerslev Hitman? So I know I'm speculating and we can't say for sure either way, but what do you think? Do you think that this Jonas Wife drama has had an impact on his performance so far at the Tour, or it will do going forward? We haven't really got long left before we hit those crucial stages to find out for sure. So let's keep our eyes peeled and see if we get any more news on this one. Make sure you like and subscribe, comment down below, and catch you on the next one.